Stay free with Russell Brand. See it first on Rumble. Could you talk to me a bit as well, mate, about what circular economies are and how that's going to impact us in coming years?
Oh, yeah, definitely. So that's what Adrian Monk, the managing director, pretty much the propaganda minister of the World Economic Forum, had referred to one of my stories, referred to me as a bad faith actor for targeting the forum's coverage on the circular economy. So the circular economy, on the surface, like you say, they make it look so mundane and nice and all these things. On the surface, it's about reusing and recycling materials and longer lifespans and everything for supply chains. On the back end of that, though, is their business model. So their circular economy business model is product as a service. This is where you'll own nothing and be happy actually comes from this business model. Of course, Ida Auken, the Danish MP, she wrote that in 2016, that story about owning nothing. But then if that's what she credited was the circular economy. Breakthroughs in the circular economy is what allowed a nation, a class of renters. So what the circular economy in business models looks like is that there's a small asset class of owners who own everything while they rent out every single product, which has become a service to everyone else. But and this could also tie into where, if you own nothing and automation is taking over many jobs, then how do you get money? How do you survive? How do you live? That's when you introduced universal basic income using central bank digital currencies, which can be programmed to limit how much you can own, where you can spend it, what you can spend it on, so on and so forth. And so while you're sitting there collecting your universal basic income, which is just a voucher pretty much to what you use it on, then they can say, we've eliminated poverty. That's one of the sustainable development goals. So if everyone's down here, you guys got all this income, and you just plugged into the metaverse, then what's the problem? We'll take care of you. You just have to sit back, do nothing, and that's all that. All good.
Oh my God, that's a really terrifying depiction that you've just offered us there. I had the image of like citadels, the idea of walled cities that were only accessible to people that were sanctioned and permitted within the walls, but that's happening on a kind of a cyber level now, that there are certain boundaries and thresholds that won't be able to be crossed. And with your idea there about the universal basic income and the elimination of poverty, presumably these vouchers that will be issued will only be able to be permissible to be spent in particular ways, allowing the kind of corporate partners, I might imagine, a kind of a surety that the money's only going to be spent within their organizations. And as we've not used that brilliant asset yet of how many nations, Facebook, Apple, Amazon, Microsoft, these are now essentially more powerful than, I can't say any nation on earth because of China and the United States, but these corporations operate within those nations. So the idea that the corporation is a subset of the nation is gone. The idea that these unelected bodies like the WHO, IMF, and WEF, in perhaps a less tangible way, we now have unelected private entities that have a lot more power than any nation, and we're seeing now that democracy within those countries in itself is a kind of stitched up game because of lobbying, because of conflicts of interest. It's much easier, Tim, to imagine that sort of horrifying Wall-E image sort of coming to fruition. Gal, what do you want to say before we go back to Tim?
Jump in and say, like, this, it also, it sounds like conspiracy. You can quite easily get to the place where it sounds like, oh, they're going to control our lives, this kind of universal credit and keep us all, being able to spend on what we want. But literally, Tom Mutton, the director of the Bank of England, said about CBDCs, he said, there could be some socially beneficial outcomes. You could think of giving your children pocket money, but programming the money so that it couldn't be used for sweets. So, I mean, this is literally in response to, and that is for the source of the Telegraph, this is not from anywhere other than the mainstream media itself, where the director of the Bank of England is basically telling us that once digital currencies come in, we'll be able to control how people spend it. Again, it's not conspiracy.
Stay free with Russell Brand. See it first on Rumble.